Hi, and welcome to another digital book talk from Massanutten Regional Library. Today's book talk is a YA book talk, a young adult one, and we are focusing on books by the author Elizabeth Wein. I happen to be a fan of historical fiction, and most of her works are historical fiction, although I am hiding a nonfiction work of hers back here as well. Our first book is codename Verity. It's October 11th, 1943. A British spy plane crashes in Nazi-occupied France. Its pilot and passenger are best friends. One of the girls has a chance at survival. The other one has lost the game before it's barely begun. When Verity, otherwise known as Queenie, also Eva, and a number of other aliases, when Verity is arrested by the Gestapo, she is sure that she doesn't stand a chance. As a secret agent captured in enemy territory, she is living a spy's worst nightmare. Her Nazi interrogators give her a simple choice: reveal your mission or face a grisly execution. As she intricately weaves her confession, Verity uncovers her past, how she became friends with Maddie, and why she left Maddie in the wrecked fuselage of their plane. On each new little scrap of paper, Verity battles for her life, confronting her views on courage and failure and her desperate hope to make it home. But will trading her secrets be enough to save her from the enemy? Read the book to find out. Our second book today, Rose Under Fire, is a companion novel to our first book, codenamed Verity. In this book, the author continues to explore the themes of friendship and loyalty, right and wrong, unwavering bravery in the face of indescribable evil. The books are also connected by the character of Maddie, who is a mutual friend of the protagonists of each of these stories. In this story, we have Rose Justice. Rose is an American pilot with Britain's Air Transport Auxiliary during the Second World War. Her job is to ferry Allied airplanes from England to Paris. And she's on her way back from a semi-secret flight in the waning days of the war when Rose is captured. She's captured by the Germans, and she ends up in a concentration camp, specifically in Ravensbrück, the notorious Ravensbrück, where the Nazi women's concentration camp. And there she meets an unforgettable group of women, including a once glamorous and celebrated French detective novelist whose Jewish husband and 3 young sons have been killed, a resilient young girl who was a human guinea pig for the Nazi doctors trying to learn how to treat German war wounds, and a night witch, a female fighter pilot and military ace for the Soviet Air Force. These damaged women must bond together to help each other survive. Who survives? Read the book to find out. Continuing down the same lines we've been on here, our third book is called The Pearl Thief. And The Pearl Thief is actually a prequel to codename Verity. So before there was Verity, there was Julie. Julie's 15 years old, Julia Beaufort Stewart, and today she's waking up in the hospital. She knows the lazy summer break that she'd imagined won't be exactly what she anticipated, and once she returns to her grandfather's estate, a bit banged up but alive, she begins to realize that her injury might not have been an accident. One of her family's employees is missing, and he disappeared on the very same day she landed in the hospital. Desperate to figure out what happened, she befriends Ewan McEwan, the Scottish traveler boy who found her when she was injured, and his standoffish sister Ellen. As Julie grows closer to his family, she witnesses firsthand some of the prejudices that they've grown used to, a stark contrast to her own very privileged upbringing. and she finds herself exploring thrilling new experiences that have nothing to do with a missing person investigation. Her memory of the day of her accident returns in pieces, and then a body is discovered. Her new friends are caught in the crosshairs of long-held biases about their group of people, the travelers. And Julie must get to the bottom of the mystery in order to keep them from being framed for the crime. Read the book to find out more. Book 4 is the Enigma Game. So, once again, we're going to see some characters we've read or at least met before in some of our other stories. In the Enigma Game, we have 15-year-old Louisa Adair. She is Jamaican, British, and now she's an orphan. She's lost both of her parents in the shelling during World War II, and she has to find a way to support herself while hopefully doing her bit to defeat the Nazis. Despite her losses and her dislocation, Louisa keeps her flute by her side and her mother's love of music in her heart, and she lands a job in Windy Edge, caring for an elderly retired opera singer whose niece runs the pub near the airbase. Louisa and the fascinating old woman, who is actually German by birth but living under a pseudonym in Scotland, they turn out to be kindred spirits, and eventually they're co-conspirators. Another teen, Ellen McEwen, who we met over here in The Pearl Thief, hails from a family of travelers and hides her background as she works as a volunteer driver at the base and takes on increasing responsibilities. And then there's Jamie Beaufort Stewart, a member of Julia's family from this book. And Jamie appears as a 19-year-old flight leader for the 648th Squadron, flying slow and clunky Bristol Blenheim aircrafts, and is driven to desperation to keep his pilot safe and stand up to the mighty Messerschmitts. The young people's lives and stories converge when a German pilot lands in Windy Edge and leaves behind a mysterious box, an Enigma machine, and more importantly, a key to how it works to translate German code. And so my last book today is actually a nonfiction book. Still on the same lines, we're still talking World War II. And so in Rose Under Fire, one of our characters was a Soviet night witch. This book is about the Soviet female pilots, night witches, and other Soviet female pilots. So this is 1,000 Sisters, the Heroic Air Women of the Soviet Union in World War II. It's a true story of the only women to fly in combat in World War II. A distinction from the women who were flying planes from England to Paris, ferrying them across. They weren't in combat. These women were fighting in combat. In the early years of World War II, Stalin issued an order that made the Soviet Union the first country in the world to allow female pilots to fly in combat. Led by Marina Raskova, these 3 regiments, including the 588th Night Bomber Regiment, nicknamed the Night Witches, they faced intense pressure and obstacles both in the sky and on the ground. Some of these young women perished in flames. Many of them were in their teens when they went to war. This is the story of Raskova's 3 regiments, women who enlisted and were deployed on the front lines of battle as navigators, pilots, and mechanics. It's the story of 1,000 young women who wanted to take flight to defend their country and the women who brought them together in the sky. So all of these books today are by the author Elizabeth Wein, and I suggest checking at least one of them out today. Enjoy.